record for a review in this matter. Names of our participants, please.
Carson Howitt, lawyer, guardian ad litem.
Ms. Daja Thomas, counsel for the department. Ms. Madrid.
Francesca Madrid, foster care worker from Foster Aid Solution.
Michael Brooks, I represent Mr. I believe his first name is Thomas.
Sean Thomas.
Sean Thomas, that's it.
Mr. Thomas, are you here with us this afternoon?
Yes, I'm here. This is Sean Thomas.
Thank you.
Michael McFarland representing mother. I've checked out in the hall. She is not here. I've checked with my office. We have heard and received no contact from her, Your Honor.
Carlotte Collier. We're looking for Carlotte Collier. I don't see anybody logged in under that name, nor do we have anybody in the waiting room. I just want to say for the record, this has also been set for permanency planning for today. And then do we have a tribe representative here today?
Joe Washington, ICWA coordinator.
Great. Did you say Joe?
Yes.
Perfect. Got it. Welcome. It looks like this is our fifth review. Does that sound right, Ms. Thomas? I'm just getting this case back from Judge Costello, who had a number of hearings in this case. Mr. Howard's also relatively new on the scene at the beginning of the year, so get a little fresh perspective. But if there's anything that comes up, please don't hesitate to ask or let us know. Mr. Howard, did you get a chance to meet with the child?
Yes, I met with the child and her foster mom in my office on December 20th, 2024. I was able to observe the child play with a few toys that were in my office, and she reported that she had just come from her school Christmas party, so she was in pajamas and outside of her normal school uniform. The child's needs are being met. Her foster home provides stability and a family-like atmosphere. She reported that she really enjoys playing with her foster siblings and that they have a large play space at the home where they can all, hang out and play together. The child's foster mom demonstrated a deep understanding of the child's needs. Specifically, the child suffers from seizures, and she is well aware of the signs to look for and in very open communication with her medical providers, so she can get guidance at a moment's notice if necessary. The child appears to be very bonded with her foster mom, referring to her foster mom as, mom. And I was impressed with the foster parents' respect for the child's biological mom's wishes to enforce the Norse pagan religion as part of the child's life. When we discussed it, the foster mom was able to talk to the child about it in a very simplified way for the child to digest and really understand and have it be part of her life. I cannot report on the child's best wishes as she is fairly young, and I'm still working to, familiarize myself with her and, create a comfortable relationship with her. But I do believe that this placement fits her needs and is in her best interests at this moment.
Thank you. All right, testimony today, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Hunter. Ms. Madrid can be sworn in to provide her report.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Whenever you're ready, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Madrid, I was just looking at your court report again, so I apologize for that. In the court report you provided the beginning of the month, you included the court report, the case service plans for Ms. Collier and Mr. Thomas, and then also a discharge letter from ACPC regarding Ms. Collier. Are there any other documents that have been circulated since filing this packet?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. And at this time, would you consider Ms. Collier to be an absent parent?
Yes.
Your report does not have any information regarding that. I'm guessing in part because at that time she was not absent or not considered absent, but can you please provide us with some efforts that you've made to contact her or locate her?
Yes. I haven't had contact with her since the beginning of December. I have attempted to call and text. Her phone is not in service, so it doesn't even ring. I've attempted to email her as well. I've attempted to ask anyone that I know that might have association to her. I also went to her previous employer. I went in to ask if maybe they had updated contact information, and they stated that they had no updated contact information and that she was not employed there. So they did confirm that for me. That's all.
To the best of your knowledge, did she receive this court report and notice of the adjourned hearing?
To the best of my knowledge, I do believe she received this court report. I am not sure if she knows about the adjournment.
Okay. Did the email address that you sent her the court report in, is that the one that you've used since the onset of this case? Okay. And during this review period, so since November 14th, it's been sort of a shorter review. What would you, or how would you describe her compliance within benefit from her case service plan?
She has not been compliant with her case service plan during this reporting period. She was discharged from her individual therapy back in December due to lack of communication and attendance. She was discharged from the family assistance program with Orchards in November due to lack of communication and attendance. She lost her job. She has not secured safe and stable housing. And she also has decided to stop communication with the agency, specifically myself. I did include some communications that she sent to me directly, just stating that she didn't want to work further with the agency after several accusations that she made against the agency's theft and human trafficking and things like that. We haven't had communication.
And then it just briefly, as it relates to Mr. Thomas, I know that it's a little difficult with him being so far away, but have you had any updates on any services that he might be engaged in?
Not at this time. I know the only update is that he did move to Alaska with his parents, and he might be able to provide more of an update if he engaged in services, but I did research some services in Alaska and send him contact information for that, for him to get started. I don't believe he has done so, and he has still maintained that he wants to release his parental rights.
And I know that this has been an ongoing topic at many reviews since the beginning of this case. Is the child, do you have any updates on the child's enrollment in the tribe?
Yes, so I didn't get a chance to speak again after the last review, but the eligibility paperwork was sent to the tribal administrator that we had previously. It was sent back in August, as well as her birth certificate and social security card. And then when we got the new administrator, it was resent to him in November. So I didn't get a chance to tell the court after it was discussed whether or not it was sent, but it was sent in August and it was again sent in November, and he is connected, so he can confirm that.
But you don't have any further updates from the tribe itself?
Not regarding the actual process or where we're at, no.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. And during this review period, I guess, or in general, as relates to the permanency planning component, do you believe that there's sufficient progress to consider or to continue towards the goal of reunification?
Not at this time, no.
And what is your recommendation for permanency for this child?
We are asking for the goal to be changed to adoption.
And I know that this is addressed in your report, but for the record, is the current placement willing to provide permanency through adoption?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And are there other family members that may need to be considered as competing parties through the adoption process?
Yes, it's my understanding that the paternal aunt would like to be considered for permanency.
And is the child still receiving visits with the paternal aunt?
Yes, we do Zoom visits about once or twice a month.
And how are those going?
They're going well. She's able to talk with her cousins and able to share about her day in school and things like that. They're going really well. She spends most of the time talking to her cousins.
Okay. And how would you, I guess, how would you describe or identify how the agency is complying with the active efforts standard in this matter?
Would you like me to read them off?
Well, I know that they're in your report, but if you can just summarize, particularly in this last review period, the concentrated efforts to achieve the permanency goal.
Yes, so we did attempt to meet with Ms. Collier several times face to face. I offered several times transportation to her and bus tokens and gas cards. We submitted the travel application back in November as well. The biggest barrier I would say to the efforts has been her returning the contact and meeting with me, or when we do schedule her showing up. I've offered to pick her up from wherever she is, but she has not been willing to give me an address. Yeah, those are my active efforts have been a bit limited due to her contention.
And then as it relates to services for the child, I would say that you have active efforts there as well. Or can you just briefly highlight that for the court?
Yes, which is doing really well. She is still engaged in EMDR. She does have a neurologist to address all of her seizure concerns. Although she's doing really well in that area, it's being monitored. She's doing really well in school. We have updated monthly meetings with the school staff to ensure that all of her needs are being met. She's doing really well in the foster home. Is very bonded to her foster siblings in her community, and all of her needs are being met.
What would the risk of harm be to the child, or maybe it's better asked what the barriers to reunification are for Ms. Collier? I know that you've briefly touched on that. If you can just reiterate that for us.
Yes, so it would be emotional instability, lack of safe and appropriate housing, and being in financial crisis at this time.
Is there any indication that is still in Lenawee County?
There's not. I did speak to her therapist, and she stated that she wouldn't give her location as well. I have no indication that she's still at Adrian.
In your report, there's an indication from, or an accusation that she was beaten by, it's not Mr. Thomas, but his cousin or his cousin's family. Do you have any additional information on that?
I do not. I'm also not exactly sure who it is. She says her child's father's family. She didn't provide any documentation when I asked for it, or even what hospital she was in. So I don't have any further information on that.
Is there anything else you'd like the court to know, just from your court report or your knowledge of the case?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you. With that, Your Honor, I have no further questions of Ms. Madrid and would move to admit the court report and the attachments.
No objection.
No position without a client.
No objection.
Okay, Mr. Washington, do you have any objections to the admission of the court report or the discharge letter for Ms. Collier?
I have no objections, Your Honor.
Thank you. They are received and will become part of the file. While we have you, do you have any questions for Ms. Madrid?
No.
Okay, questions, Mr. McFarland?
I do. Have you talked with the tribal representative on what impact it would have if father released his rights before the tribe made a decision on eligibility?
It is my understanding that she would keep her eligibility, her Native American eligibility, whether or not Mr. Thomas releases his rights.
Who did you speak to on that?
Mr. Washington.
Thank you. As far as active efforts, I know my client, when I had represented her in the past, she was concerned about raising this child in Native beliefs and also some particular beliefs that she had. What active efforts are we using to keep her involved with her Native American culture?
Yes, so we have been able to get a lot of information from her paternal aunt, who has provided us with pictures of her grandparents, her genogram, family tree, all of that information has been provided to the foster parents and and we have been provided with books from the paternal aunt. So this reporting period, we have been able to get a lot of information from her in regards to the Native Village of Brooklyn. And we have been able to provide that to her. However, I haven't gotten anything from the tribe itself. So they will be providing me info. I spoke to them today. So if there's anything else that I can do, they'll get that to me.
Current foster placement is a non-family member, correct?
Yes.
So there is a possibility that if the permanency was adoption with this non-family member, the family member could choose to cut her off from her aunt and her cousins. That nothing would prohibit that, correct?
I know that wouldn't happen because the foster parents have a child that they previously adopted whom they still keep in contact consistently with the biological parents.
There's nothing in the policy that says that they have to do that. That's just their word, right?
Correct, yeah, based off what they've done.
I understand. You emailed a copy of the report to my client, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Did it come back undeliverable?
No.
Email her any type of notification that we had a hearing today?
I did not send her anything besides a text and a call.
It showed that, well, the call, I think you mentioned, did not go through, is that correct?
Correct,
And the text was to the same number?
yes.
That did not go through either?
Well, I didn't get a not sent, but yes.
Okay, guess I'm confused. When you text, what happened?
It didn't give me like an error red message or anything like that. It showed that it sent, so
Okay.
I mean,
Fair enough. Okay. Her last known whereabouts was in Illinois County, is that correct?
yes.
If she's listening on YouTube, we're on YouTube, Your Honor.
We are.
If she's listening on YouTube, what would be her priority to re-engage in this case?
Her priority number one would be to contact me or to contact you and re-engage in any part of her case or span, whether that be to recontact her therapist at ACPC and get re-engaged in that just due to the recent concerns we've had.
Probably a good thing for her to reach out to you and to have maybe a telephone or a Zoom or in-person meeting. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If she reaches out to either one of us, I'm available for a meeting at any time.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
Any questions, Mr. Brooks?
You are, as I heard your testimony today, recommending eventually a release of termination of parental rights. Is that correct?
That's what he's maintained, yes,
And you support that?
yes.
When can that process begin to prepare the paperwork to accommodate Mr. Thomas?
Well, I prepared the paperwork back in August and it was sent to him and his attorney, but I can resend that
You sent it to who?
to you and him.
That's all.
Any questions, Mr. Howard?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Thomas, any redirect?
I have none, Your Honor.
Any other questions, Mr. Washington?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Mr. McCrum?
Did you send the release paperwork that you prepared to the tribe also?
I'm not sure if I included them in the email. No.
Okay, nothing further.
Thank you for your testimony. May return to your seat. Thank you. Anyone else you'd like us to hear from, Ms. Thomas?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Washington, would you like to give us any update as far as the tribe is concerned with what's being requested here today, or hear from any witnesses?
But she is enrolled into our tribe.
That's great. Would you be able to forward copies of whatever you have that confirms that over to Ms. Madrid?
Yes, I will send you an email.
Great. And then as I understand, the department is asking us to consider changing the goal to adoption for this child, which would mean looking at terminating the rights of Carla Collier. And I understand Mr. Sean Thomas wants to release. Do you have any thoughts on that request at this time?
Not at this time, no.
All right. I would assume that the tribe would be investigating that and making a recommendation one way or the other between now and when we come to our next review. Is that a fair assumption?
Yes.
Very well, thank you. All right, Mr. McFarland, anyone you'd like us to hear from today?
If tribal administrator wouldn't mind, I have a question for him.
What?
Sir, I represent Mother. Does the tribe have a position on the child being placed with family, the aunt, or with a non-family foster parent? Does the tribe have a position?
So would you like to go to the podium?
Yes, let me do that so you can see me, sir. There. Sir, does the tribe have a position on the child being placed with a non-family foster parent or with a aunt who is a family member?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Would you think, will it be expressing an opinion down the road or does that not involve the tribe?
I don't think it involves the tribe.
Okay. Did I hear that you have no objection to Mr. Thomas releasing his parental rights, even if it were maybe today? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, no objections.
Okay. Do you feel that this child is receiving sufficient material regarding her indigenous culture?
Yes.
Nothing further?
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brooks, any questions? Anyone you'd like us to hear from?
Mr. Thomas,
Deputy Ames, if you could swear in Mr. Sean Thomas, he joined the.
Mr. Thomas, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Your Honor, would it be possible for us to facilitate this release by my client today or not?
Typically, if I accept a release, I have to have a copy of the signed documents in front of me.
All right, thank you.
Given the child's enrollment in the tribe as well, I would think Ms. Madrid may have to revise the documents that she prepared to adequately accommodate the considerations required under ICWA and MIFA.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, Ms. Madrid, the Department of Social Services worker, indicates she mailed you copies of a petition and proposed order to release your parental rights. Did you get them?
Yes, I received them by email.
And have you reviewed them?
I reviewed a little bit of it.
What does that mean?
I skimmed through the first page of what was on the email.
Have you signed it or not?
Not yet.
Obviously, you haven't mailed it back to Ms. Madrid, have you?
That's correct.
What is your position today with respect to releasing your parental rights?
I still have the same position of releasing my parental rights.
Are you aware, based on what you just heard the judge say, that there isn't much she can do till we get this done?
That's correct.
So are you going to sit down and look at them again?
Yes, I'll take a look at it today, and if I'm able to do an electronic signature, I'll get it signed and have it sent to you and Miss Madrid.
You have our addresses.
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Thomas from our other attorneys or our tribal representative?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Mr. Brooks?
No, thank you.
Mr. Howard?
No, Your Honor.
Comments in closing for today then, beginning with Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. If the parties are agreeable and the court is agreeable, I have the capabilities of getting certified electronic signatures. I would just have to be the one to send them to Mr. Thomas. And so I would ask Mr. Brooks permission to have that communication with his client if that's easiest for everyone to achieve his release at this time. And then
You
other
have
than
it.
that, Your Honor, thank you, Mr. Brooks. And then other than that, Your Honor, we are just asking for a 90-day review, at which time we would anticipate a termination hearing for Ms. Collier. I think that the goal for adoption is the most appropriate at this time. It's been over 2 months that she has tried to engage in any type of communication. And I think that by the time we file this petition or have the hearing, she would have effectively abandoned the child if she does not avail herself to the agency for services. I think that there are definitely active efforts being made on behalf of this family through the agency. And then also I'd like to commend the foster care family for really respecting. I think that Mr. Howitt put that really nicely, that there's a lot of respect for the child's birth families as it relates to ensuring that material is introduced to her in an age-appropriate way for the Norse pagan religion as relates to mom, and then also her native roots. So with that, I think that the child is in the least restrictive environment, that there are still significant concerns as relates to Ms. Collier, and that placement is necessary. Thank you.
Any further comments today, Mr. Washington?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. McFarland?
My only concern, Your Honor, I take no position because I do not have a client, but it'd be proof of service. I do have a copy of the order of adjournment. I don't have a proof of service. And it doesn't sound as though my client was, at least I haven't heard testimony, that she was served notice of today's hearing. So I'm not sure if we could really proceed on her portion if she wasn't served. That's my only commentary. Thank you.
Yeah, I would offer to you also, Mr. McFarland, that the email address that has been used for Ms. Collier successfully to notify her of past court dates and adjournments and hearings and court reports has since come back undeliverable. So I think what we're seeing here is, despite best efforts, Ms. Collier is bound and determined to sever communication with the agency, which I think will probably pose a challenge for purposes of any termination petition set to be heard on her case. But I don't think it's for lack of trying to let your client know what's been happening.
Your Honor.
Any comments, Mr. Brooks?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Howard?
Yeah, I fully support the change the permanency planning goal to adoption. That's
Thank you. All right, the court finds all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's review hearing. I do find efforts towards the goal of reunification were made by the department through the efforts of Ms. Madrid at the agency. I'm glad Mr. Thomas came today to let us know what his position is, and so he understands what's going to be happening in the next hearing. I am directing the department to file that petition for termination of parental rights as it relates to Ms. Collier, and to prepare the release documents for Mr. Thomas that he's requested. I do that after consideration number one of his request, and of course Ms. Collier's very open decision to abandon efforts towards reunification and termination of contact of her She hasn't seen the child. She's been in contact with Ms. Madrid. So on top of what we've seen as the challenges Ms. Collier was looking to overcome at this point, she has stepped affirmatively towards abandoning her child, as Ms. Thomas pointed out. The second piece is the fact that this child has been removed from her care since September 1st of 2023. A child at her age with special needs, including seizures, needs all of the support that she can get. When she was removed, she was underweight, she had significant issues, and her mother's frequent moving and unstable mood swings and instability in providing for her certainly affected her to the extent that it was visible physically in her development. She's doing very well now where she's placed. She's well bonded to that placement. They are honoring her ties to the tribe, and the tribe is honoring its ties to her as well, which is excellent. So not only do we have reasonable efforts, but certainly active efforts have been made in this case, thanks to Ms. Madrid, the efforts of the foster placement and the tribe, which we're glad to see that the child will have that support moving forward, regardless of what happens with her mother. So for all those reasons, I am authorizing the goal change to adoption and ordering the department to file that termination petition. I think it certainly serves the best interests of the child at this point in time. The child will remain in her foster placement. Again, she's doing well there. They are taking care of her needs, especially vigilant of her heightened needs, given her condition and diagnosis for seizures, as well as enjoying sharing with her about her heritage. And we'll have our next review, which will also be a permanency planning hearing. And if the petition is timely filed and served, we'll conduct the termination petition on the same day, April 21st at 2:30 p.m., assuming everyone is available for that. April 21st at 2:30 p.m. our time, Mr. Washington. So hearing no objections to that date and time, then that will be the conclusion for today's hearing. And we'll see you all in April for our next phase. Okay, April 21st.